Okay, so here we are on the 2018 Harley Davidson Softail Fat Bob, and this has the new Milwaukee 107 M8, Milwaukee 8, 4 valves per head, and after the Evo 1340s, the twin cam 88s, twin cam 96 and twin cam 103. It's quite a big departure for Harley. It's moved to this 8 valve engine, and in stock form it's the 107, which is quite torquey. This particular one has a big ram air filter there, and it's got the Vance and Hines short shots. They sound quite quiet actually, so they might actually be legal with the baffles in, but effectively this is a stage 1 tune for this particular bike. And of course they do this particular machine in the 107 and the 114. And this is my first opportunity to actually ride the Milwaukee 8, having previously owned an 88, a 96 and a 103 in terms of a Deuce, Fat Bob and Road King. So I've kind of owned everything from the dyno to the Softails to the touring range, and this is a little different in that of course this year they've combined the dynos and Softails and kind of taken the best of both of those ranges to consolidate them into a single Softail range. So immediate impressions on this are, the bars are very nice. They're nice and wide, and I like the thickness of the bars through the clamps here, and then they tailor off to tapered ends, which is nice, and they're at a nice width. And in terms of riding position, just slightly bent forward, so that's very, very good. And leg room is good as well. It's the legs don't feel cramped, but you're not kind of really kicked out with really kind of forward controls. They're more kind of mid controls, and somebody of average height could certainly manage this bike, I don't think, without too much problem. So in terms of seating, the seat very much locks you in one position. It's very much a kind of bucket style seat, and it kind of is what it is. And I suspect it probably not the most comfortable over a big distance, unless the position it kind of locks you into really suits you. Now this has a big fat rear tyre, and it's quite a flat profile on it, so you do feel it a little bit leant over into the corners. It's plenty wide, plenty of grip, but it's not the most kind of natural in terms of geometry with that front tyre. I'm not saying it's a massive problem, particularly by Harley standards, but it's just something to be aware of if your current machine, you know, steers like it's a ballerina. Gearbox feels pretty good actually. No false neutrals so far, and I haven't had any problems finding neutral, which is a first for a Harley. Looks like this machine's done 393 miles, so unless that's the trip it's currently on. And what I am feeling a lot of is heat on my right thigh. It's a very hot day today. It's going to be well up in the 80s, probably 88 at the moment. So, just missed the gear there. I'm not sure whether it's me not being positive enough for the bike. I do like the foot brake position on this machine. It's much more in line with conventional bikes, and feels much more normal. Usually Harley rear brakes are stuck up in the air as though your foot's dislocated or some nonsense like that, but this actually feels pretty good. Mirrors are pretty good as well. They don't vibrate too much. can see behind fairly clearly. I like their small, discreet style, and they're quite big as well. Switchgear is chunky. Harley always does good switchgear. It's robust, solid feeling, it's got an air of quality about it. And although the left for left and right for right turn indicators is an acquired taste, I actually get on well with that. I do like the overall colour scheme of this bike and the look of it. It's pretty mean. I like the gloss black finishes for the gas cap tank and the big proud Harley logo. It's a bike they're clearly proud of, this machine. It's much more modern, more of a departure from Harley. It's kind of less chrome and less bling and more about actual performance. One thing that does feel really good actually is the brakes. The brakes feel really significantly better than I recall previous Harleys I've ridden feeling. They really feel very, very natural, very kind of modern, mid-range Brembo. Plenty of feel and plenty of stopping power, which is important. And of course these wide tyres, it's kind of got a balloonish front tyre as well, will really help in terms of grip, particularly on a warm sunny day like today. Now ride quality wise, of course they're now using Showa suspension. Showa, if you don't know, is a subsidiary of Honda, and I think Honda know a thing or two about making motorcycles that perform well reliably for a very long time. So no qualms there, it's a good move. And in terms of ride quality, the forks feel very good. They're really bang on. They really ride the bumps well, yet they feel they feel compliant, yet they track a line pretty well, and they feel very, very good. The rear shock could do a little bit more movement, as is the case in most custom machines, and it's a little bit firm, although I am a little on the heavy side, about 240 pounds. So it does have a remote preload adjuster for this year. I made a huge thing about that. I think my Suzuki GSX 550 back in 1985 had that. But anyways, big news for Harley, having a remote preload adjuster, even if the whole suspension isn't adjustable for preload compression or rebound. Just a bit of go in her. Open her up, it's not too bad. I wouldn't say the power is night and day different with the 103, but I would say it feels like it's making its power a little bit easier. What I mean by that is a little bit more refined, and it hasn't really lost too much in terms of character. I know a lot of the purists will really like the slow tick overs of the old engines and the crash bang wallops of the thumps of the pistons, but personally I prefer bikes that work and are more modern and smoother, but don't bore you to tears like a universal Japanese motorcycle often does. And I think it's a pretty good job actually, Harley. I think we've done pretty well. I think the price of this machine is fair, given the quality and size of the engine and the dealership backup and support. And it's quite a fun machine, if a little impractical. You really wouldn't want to take a pillion on the back of this bike with the standard seat, and if you put a seat on that accommodates a pillion, it'll probably make the bike look awful, or certainly detract from its kind of mean, stripped down, purposeful looks. But you probably know that if you're looking at this type of bike, and if you're prepared to ride with like a rucksack with wet weather gearing or whatever, and ride solo, or maybe even fit some quick detached panniers to it, it'll probably work pretty well for you. So yeah, good machine, I like it, not bad. Well done, Harley.